Welcome back, folks, to a Kaizen Mind book club. End of the day, my reflection time. Take time to chat to you a little bit more about another book that I recommend in our series. Oh, I'm Linda Heffernan, cognitive behavioral hypnotherapist for executives, behavioral scientist, executive leadership coach, curating books for you to read so you don't have to go through bookshelves figuring out what to read. Last time, folks, we had the wonderful Grit by Angela Duckworth, Professor Angela Duckworth. Why Passion and Perseverance Matter More Than Talent. One of my core reads. And today, a new book, Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. The Science of Achieving Greater Things. Now, I'm a big fan of Adam Grant, Professor Adam Grant. He's earned it. I'm going to call him it. He's written many books, and I really just struggled trying to decide which one to review first. And then I thought, actually, which one fits in nicely after Grit? And it's this one. Quick verdict. This is, once again, accessible behavioral science from a highly credible researcher that shows us we're all capable of far more than we think. So the core concept, well, to me, the core concept here is we're obsessed with talent. But what really matters is the distance you travel, not where you start. And it's quite an interesting concept. So Grant distinguishes between ambition, the outcomes you want, and aspiration, the person you want to become. And the person piece, the human part of leadership, is what's really important to me when I work with you, my client. This book is about aspiration, who you're becoming through growth. My growth again. A key insight of this book is that progress depends less on how hard you work than on how well you learn. So growth here is not about the genius you possess. It's about the character you develop. And when you think about grit and what Professor Duckworth spoke about, genius is not the be-all and the end-all. And Grant is saying, character is more important. So Grant identifies character skills as the foundation, your capacity to prioritize your values over your instincts. And so many times with you, my clients, you hear me talking about your values and asking you about your values when challenges show up for you. Grant explores how to build character skills and motivational structures to realize potential. He also addresses how to design systems that create opportunities for those who've been underrated and overlooked. And this is really important for the introverts that may be in your team and not being developed properly, their hidden potential. The book takes us from classrooms to boardrooms, Olympics to outer space, knowing how anyone can rise to achieve greater things. I've just realized that's 3 books in a row, or maybe 4, that have looked at the Olympics and sports. So what's the science here and why does it matter, Linda? Okay, let me talk about Adam Grant's credentials. He's an organisational psychologist at the Wharton School, and most of you probably know that's probably one of the top 3 business schools in the world, IMD, INSEAD being the others. And he's the top-rated professor for 7 years straight. A BA from Harvard and a PhD from University of Michigan. He's a #1 New York Times best-selling author, and his books have been translated into 45 languages. TED Talks viewed over 35 million times. Really encourage you to watch those talks. And his discussions with Brené Brown, his interviews with Brené Brown. Wonderful. He hosts the hit podcast Rethinking, a fantastic lesson. He is recognized as one of the world's 10 most influential management thinkers. He has received distinguished scientific achievement awards from the American Psychological Association, the Academy of Management, and the National Science Foundation. His research on motivation and meaning has enabled people to reach aspirations and exceed expectations. And what is that research, Linda? Well, Grant presents a fascinating study from West Africa with 1,500 entrepreneurs. They were split into groups, one focused on cognitive hard skills, another on character, he calls them soft, I call it human skills like grit, discipline, and proactivity. So entrepreneurs who worked on character skills saw profits jump by 30% over 2 years, nearly triple the growth of those who focused on hard skills alone. This reinforces what Duckworth found with grit. Character matters more than we think. Now, the connection to our previous books. If Dweck gave you growth mindset, belief you can develop, and Duckworth gave you grit, sustained effort over time, well then Grant comes in giving you the system for unlocking potential through character development and learning strategies. For executives leaders, we celebrate prodigies and natural talent, but we overlook how far we ourselves can travel. So Grant shows that meaningful learning is almost always uncomfortable, that mastery requires willingness to lean into discomfort, and we are not always comfortable with discomfort. Character is often confused with personality. Personality is how you respond on a typical day. Character is how you show up on a hard day. So the growth. Learning to become a sponge, absorbing feedback, embracing discomfort, prioritizing values over instincts, these character skills determine how far you can go. So, what works in this book, Linda? Well, this book, Hidden Potential, Adam Grant, it's incredibly accessible while maintaining a scientific rigor. Grant's storytelling is exceptional, just beautiful. His use of language, beautiful. He weaves research with compelling real-life examples. Stories range from NASA astronauts to the Finnish education system to basketball players in Brazil. The concept of deliberate play, transforming daily grind into daily joy through varied, engaging practice, is a wonderful concept, and I was fascinated by it. It has practical strategies, okay, seeking feedback from multiple people, rating yourself on a 1 to 10 scale, and asking how to get closer to 10. And you will hear that in coaching sometimes. There's an emphasis on being kind to yourself, okay? You will often hear me talk about the self-compassion piece. Beating yourself up doesn't make you stronger, folks. It leaves you bruised, my friends, okay? It's called self-bullying. And this book addresses both individual development and organizational systems that create opportunity. It's perfect for parents, educators, coaches, and leaders who develop others. Grant has a lovely habit in all of his book of sharing his own vulnerabilities, and this book is no different. He shares his writing process, his failures, his learning journeys, if you like. Some honest positioning on the book. This is rigorous organizational psychology from one of the most cited researchers in the field. Grant's work is grounded in peer-reviewed research and meta-analysis. Now, like Duckworth and Dweck, this is accessible science, just the way I like it. He bridges academic research and practical application masterfully. Some critics note that focusing on individual character can overlook structural barriers and systemic inequality. And Grant, he acknowledges that, okay? He addresses both individual agency and the importance of creating systems and opportunities. So there's a wonderful mixture of the psychology and the behavior, the practicality here, okay? The intention and the application. The book doesn't ignore privilege, okay? It explores how to create more equitable access to opportunity, all right? There is a lot of privilege in the corporate world and the education world. There's perhaps more recent research than some of my other reviews. So this one came out in October 2023. So it does incorporate the most recent research, the latest research. And important note, folks, like all of the books that I recommend, this is grounded in behavioral science from research and qualitative observations from business, sport, and education. It's a real theme in my recommendations. The bottom line, should I read it, Linda? Absolutely. Yes, if you want to understand how to unlock potential in yourself or others. If you're a parent, an educator, a coach, or a leader developing talent. If you've ever felt limited by where you started rather than inspired by how far you can go. If you want practical, research-backed strategies for learning and growth. If you're building the framework from our previous reviews and want the next piece. So, my take on it, this is where our journey through these recent books comes together. Dweck taught us beliefs about ability and that it can change. Duckworth showed us sustained effort matters more than talent. Peters gave us tools to manage emotional hijacking. And in fairness, Mel Robbins looks into some very practical baby steps to understanding that. Now Grant shows us how to build the character skills and learning strategies that unlock potential we didn't know we had. Together, these books create a complete system for high performance and continuous growth. Hidden Potential is the perfect addition to this collection. It's Adam Grant at his finest. So that's my review of Hidden Potential, The Science of Achieving Greater Things by Adam Grant. Next time, we're looking at another one of my core books, okay? Presence by Amy Cuddy. Professor Amy Cuddy. She earned it. I'm going to name it. It's one of my fundamental reads, folks. She also has a great TED Talk. I want to talk about why I never use the term executive presence and why true presence is about integrity, not performance. We over-index on charisma as a type of executive presence sometimes, and some other behaviors that can also index on lack of integrity, narcissism, and can exclude introverts. There are people who have true charisma, who have a wonderful presence, but it doesn't have to be the cookie-cutter understanding of what we think presence is or executive presence is from watching TV, okay, or shows. So book links in the description. If you're finding value in these reviews, folks, like, subscribe. I am curating behavioral science that transforms how you lead, how you live, and how you grow. Until then, thank you. Thank you for paying attention to your development and growth. And remember, it's not about where you start, it's about how far you will travel. See you soon. In the meantime, look after yourself.